The Buffalo Bills go into the 2022 bye week at 5-1.
You're now listening to the Wandering Buffalo podcast with your hosts, Andrew Chang and Justin Godwin.
Bills Mafia, welcome into another episode of the Wandering Buffalo podcast, a show on the Buffalo FAMBase podcast network, the originators of Bills Mafia. My name's Justin. I will be your host today, and this episode is brought to you by 26 Shirts. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and check them out. Not just great t-shirts, but also, a company that does some great work in the community. Just a great brand overall, so go ahead and check them out. Like I said, awesome t-shirt designs. This week is obviously the Bills bye week. So we're just going to take kind of an opportunity to check in with where the team is at, where we expected them to be. And we're going to do some bye week superlatives today. So obviously we're going into this bye week at 5-1. And when the schedule came out, I was kind of upset that the bye week was this early in the season. For a team that you're expecting to make a deep playoff run, if not, be in contention for a Super Bowl, I like to have that bye week a little bit later on so you can make sure you're healthy for the stretch run. But we've seen just a ton of injuries. Team's finally starting to get a little bit healthy, and hopefully we can come out of this bye week pretty much 100%. Looks like Trey White started practicing. Hopefully he's finally making his way back in. And then just a bunch of the other guys that have been dealing with some things. Going into the Chiefs game, we were primarily healthy. So just kind of nursing those injuries and coming out of this bye week fresh. And, to come away from this beginning portion of the season at 5-1 and really that one loss being a little bit fluky, players coming in and out of the game, just dealing with heat exhaustion, heat stroke out there in Miami, cramping up, just not something you see every day, and still a game we were pretty close to winning. But I thought this was a tougher part of the schedule, and I was hoping to come out of this, going into the bye, I was hoping to be at least at 4-2, so 5-1, very happy with, and like I said, easily could have been 6-0, but that's why we play the games. So we're going to dive in with some of the superlatives today, and kept this kind of brief. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I'm a little bit under the weather today, so we're going to keep it a shorter episode. But jump into the comments. Let me know your thoughts on any of these picks we've made, any ones that you think, any players that you think should have gotten mentioned that didn't. Love to take a look and get your feedback. So we'll start off right at the top. MVP of the team so far, and we all know who that is. It's Josh Allen. This dude is throwing 67% this year. Already has 1,980 yards, 12 touchdowns to 4 interceptions, and also adds 47 carries for 257 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I mean, what can I really say about Josh that we haven't said before, right? He kind of does it all and has been really executing at a consistent level. We in the past we've seen a little bit of up and down from him, and now there's kind of there used to be kind of this book on Josh Allen. You should blitz him, you shouldn't blitz him, play the cover 2 shell. None of it's working anymore. He finds a way to beat all of these things, and what I like most about Josh Allen this year is, yes, he still has 47 carries through 6 games. I mean, that's a significant amount. But to me, it's a lot less of the hero ball that we used to see, and it is some designed runs. It's more he's keeping his eyes down the field, trying to make the plays out of structure versus taking off. And there's a couple times this season where I saw plays where I thought Josh could have run for it and throws it inside, and whatever happens, we don't end up getting the first down. Um, but I like for the longevity of his career, seeing him try to make the play with his arm before his legs. And I also like that it appears that he's at least occasionally trying to slide. Hopefully, he can get a little bit more of that, but I don't know if we'll ever see that out of Josh Allen. For my defensive MVP, and this was a little bit of a toss-up to me because it could have gone a couple different ways here. I think what I love about the Bills' defense is it's not, these superstars with a bunch of players around them, just guys. The defense as a whole plays as just this really nice cohesive unit. So it could be really any given play, any given game, it can be a different player that's impacting the game. But I had to give this one to Von Miller. My honorable mention was Jordan Poyer, just for what he's doing this year. All the interceptions, he's playing through injury as well. We saw him not being medically cleared to fly, but cleared to play football, and driving himself to the Kansas City game because he wanted to be part of that. So he gets the honorable mention here. But Von Miller coming in exactly as advertised, and through 6 games he's put up 6 sacks, which is tied for second in the league right now. But what I really like about Von Miller in this system is some of the intangibles and the players you see playing off of him playing better. And we'll get into some of that later. But then there's also, the plays he makes that don't really show up on the stat sheet as much. And the one play in particular that sticks in my mind for this is in the Chiefs game. He almost gets home on Mahomes for a sack, and Mahomes wiggles out like he does, and he's kind of scrambling and keeping the play alive. And Miller's second effort, it's not a sack, but Mahomes is taking off from the pocket, and Von gets him by the ankle and stops what was probably a touchdown about to happen. It was at the very least going to be a first down in the red zone. So just that motor that he just keeps going, and even on the second, third effort, stops that from becoming a bigger play there. My pleasant surprise for this season, and I gave this one to Groot, and I don't know if I'm really surprised with where Groot is at, but we saw him kind of coming along last year, and I'm not gonna, go ahead and slap him in this like superstar category just yet. But he's been playing very consistent, and for me with Groot, it's not all about the sack numbers. It's about playing that position smart, and he's very good against the run. He knows where he's supposed to be for containing the quarterback. He keeps it inside of him. And he has also added 4 sacks this season. So I don't know how much of that is maybe playing across from Von, or how much, kind of tutelage he's getting from Von Miller, or how much it's just, his talent itself showing through. But definitely a spot where we're starting to see some returns from Groot, and I think we're still scratching the surface of who he can be as a player. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got a few more categories we're going to go into, so stick around.
Hey, this is Dick DeGroat, Bill's dad. Now back to the show.
Welcome back in, and thank you again for joining me on this week's episode of the Wandering Buffalo podcast. We're going to pick back up with the break week or bye week superlatives, and this one's going to take a little negative turn. My most disappointing player thus far this season, and for me, this was Dawson Knox. And, I know there was some time missed with injuries and, obviously some things going on in his life with his brother. But that being said, seeing what Dawson Knox was able to do at the end of last season and coming off that contract extension, losing Cole Beasley, having that slot position kind of be a three-way competition, I really thought Dawson Knox was going to emerge as the number 3 option in this offense behind Diggs and Davis, and we haven't really seen that yet. And like I said, there's a lot going on there. Um, just a lot for people to handle. These players are people too. Was just expecting a little bit more at this point in the season, and there's plenty of time to turn it around. But thus far on the season, 15 catches, 148 yards, and 1 touchdown. And this is coming off of last year where I believe he led the league in tight ends, maybe was second in the league in tight ends for touchdowns. So I was really anticipating a giant breakout year from him. And I do still believe that that's going to happen. I think, as the Bills are, really figuring out this Dorsey offense and Davis and Diggs start getting the double teams and whatnot, I think we're really going to see Dawson Knox come in and have just a really electric second half of the season this year. I also have here our offensive MVP that is not named Josh Allen. It's so easy to, give all these awards to Josh Allen. He's the motor that makes this offense go. Accounts for something like 85% of the offense moves through Josh. But we got to give some love to Stefon Diggs. I mean, he's just been an absolute force again since joining the Bills. Nothing but a great teammate, fun to watch on the field, and there's this concern coming over from Minnesota. He's a diva. He's got these attitude problems. All we've heard all the stories, and he comes in and has just been exactly what you want from your number one receiver, a leader on your team. And it seems like every week on this show I'm talking about, this quiet great game that Diggs had. I saw him in there. I saw him get a few catches. Didn't seem like anything electric. And then all of a sudden I look at the stat sheet and, it's 9 catches, 100 something yards, and 2 touchdowns. So that's how I feel kind of on a weekly basis watching Diggs. It's become so routine that it doesn't even pop off the page to me when he's having these 100-yard games. So how about like a sneaky, quiet, super productive first 6 games of the season? And some of these numbers surprised me when I was doing a little research for this. So he's 3rd in the NFL with receptions. He's got 49 so far. He's 2nd in the league for yards, 656. And he's tied for 2nd in the league for touchdowns with 6. And, these numbers shouldn't surprise me from Diggs. And it's really, like I just said, there's so many games where, we see Gabe Davis get the 98-yard touchdown. And, that play really sticks out in your head. And at least for myself, I kind of lose it throughout the course of the game that, like, Diggs hauled in 10 passes and he's averaging, 10 to 15 yards per reception and just routinely beating his defender to keep the chains moving, to make the big plays. So, we saw him a couple of years back lead the league in receptions, and I think we're kind of on pace for that this year. He's, at least for how the season started, he's on pace to have another absolute monster year. And then my last category that I got here is, these are my unsung heroes, and I had to give this one to the big guys in the trenches, Daquan Jones, and I also want to include kind of just the defensive tackle rotation in general. There's so many, over the last couple of years, we saw Bean just keep retooling this defensive line and, kind of not getting the results that we were expecting. And, the past couple of years, it was, I'll wait till we get Star back. And then we get Star back, and Star can't stay healthy. And we go out and bring in Daquan Jones as that replacement. We bring in Tim Settle. We bring back Jordan Phillips. And, these past 2-3 years, we're talking about, not really being able to get a full evaluation on Tremaine Edmunds because, he's having to shed 1-2 blocks. He's not playing free. How much better the linebackers could be, if the defensive line was just keeping them freed up. And I think this is probably the first year since Bean that has taken over that we're really seeing the results there. And game in and game out, our linebackers are looking like absolute studs. And I think that has a lot to do with these guys up front that, in particular, Daquan Jones, he's not going to fill up any stat sheets. If you look at a box score, you're not going to see Daquan Jones flashing up, 6 tackles, a sack, 2 tackles for loss. But that space that he's eating up in the middle is keeping our linebackers free to be the playmakers. And I think that there really can't be enough said about the job that they're doing up front. And we're seeing it, in the linebackers being able to come up and fill in the run game, being free in the middle, staying with receivers and pass coverage, and that all starts up front. And now we're getting to the point where, despite the Pro Bowl seasons, I think this is the best season that we've seen from Tremaine Edmunds thus far. And I always kind of thought that the Pro Bowl seasons were a little bit of like draft stock and name recognition and whatnot. But for my opinion, this is the best that we've seen Tremaine. And now it's coming up in a contract year, and we got to decide, if we're able to keep him around and at what price, because he's just raising his stock right now. So that's going to do it for my bye-week superlatives. Like I said at the top of the show, if there's anything I missed, anything, any guys that you think deserve mentions here, go ahead and leave it in the comments. While you're there, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. It really helps us out to make this show every week. Thank you again for joining me. We will see you next Monday after the Bills take on the Packers. Go Bills!